It's that time yet again where I yap as I paint these mammoth murals at my local library that I work in. So this is a bit of a longer video, guys, so sit down, grab a drink, get yourself a snack, get comfortable, and I will just randomly yap on with whatever thoughts flood my little tiny brain, so I hope you all enjoy. First off, I'm essentially starting and carrying on with the quote work that I did in my previous video. If you have not watched my previous videos, obviously, and it's a biased opinion, but I do recommend that you watch them if you want to see me paint this little cat creature that I drew, these little Julia Donaldson characters that I painted, Superworm and the little mouse from the Gruffalo. It's been a hot minute since I read the Gruffalo. I kind of want to reread the Gruffalo as a soon-to-be 24-year-old. But yeah. Oh, I noticed that my paint matched my lipstick, so that's why I was pointing to it. I was wearing blue lipstick this day, and I fear it kind of gives SpongeBob SquarePants when he's in drag, and he says he's wearing coral blue number 4. If you guys remember that deep cut reference, then you're a real one round here, partner. I do love to experiment with my makeup though. Admittedly, they're not all wins, but for me, and this isn't like a new or revolutionary thing for anyone to say, but for me, makeup is essentially a lot like art, because you're painting your face, so I like playing around with it. I mean, obviously I wear things like concealer, foundation and things like that, but I like to get creative. I like to do fun eyeliner looks, play about with colour, composition, because it's essentially the same as traditional art to me. I get the exact same amount of enjoyment and inspiration from it, so why would I not do that? It's the same with my clothes. I mean, I'm wearing carnival themed pink dungarees in this video, for God's sakes. Like, I'm not a very subtle person. I like playing around with visuals. Oh, here you can see a woman that I volunteer with came in. For reference, she's the same woman that I mentioned in the previous video who asked me and told me not to fall off this ladder that I'm stood on because, like, I'm not insured, like, if I do fall off and hurt myself. So I can't believe that I captured this on video with what happened. You'll see as it plays out. I'm minding my business. She came in, she didn't realise I was there even though I booked in the time, and she turned the lights off and I couldn't see. And so for someone who tasked me to, like, not injure myself, her plunging me into darkness as I'm trying to focus feels strange. It feels a bit strange, doesn't it, chat? Real talk though, I was genuinely amazed and, like, you can tell I'm annoyed her. I was amazed with how dangerous that was, genuinely. I pencil in every Sunday that the library's closed weeks in advance that I'm painting, so things like this doesn't happen, and she was still gormless enough to do it. I have not had a single you can tell I don't like this woman. I have not had a single conversation with this woman, I will not say her name, where she has not criticised me, which, like, some of it admittedly, like, when I was first working at the library and doing stuff, like, obviously you need to be criticised, you need to learn how things are done, so, like, a lot of people were correcting me, fine. I have no qualms with that, that's perfectly reasonable. It's been months now, I'm pretty good at my job, and I still get criticised by her. So, it icks me. Also, yes, I am going to rant about this woman because the things that she has done is insane. Like, that was pretty bad, by the way, that you saw. But even after that after that happened and she essentially did something very dangerous to me, where I really genuinely could have fell, I was talking to her and she said, like, oh, sorry, whatever, I didn't realise that someone was in here, I was wondering why all the lights were on, and I was like, okay, well, I am in here and I pencil it in all the time, so whatever. I think she could tell that I was kind of done with this shit. And she was talking to me about like the mural, and she was like, oh yeah, it's nice. And then I said like what my plans were for the rest of the mural, which you'll see later in this video. I do like a corner, it's all comic book themed. I've since worked with kids in the library who have said how much they love the comic books and my paintings of them. So, you know, clearly it's liked by a lot of people, and it's also liked by her bosses, the entire board of trustees, because all of this got approved before I painted it. So, but as like we were talking, she was like, oh yeah, I'm not sure how appropriate comic books are for kids. And I was like, if they're not appropriate for kids, who are they appropriate for? Like, obviously you can get adult comics, but like, keep in mind, this is an older woman. I was pretending to smoke my paintbrush there because I'm being goofy. But yeah, it was just like a needlessly weird thing. And I think because I was having kind of a rough week anyway with like personal stuff, I didn't snap. I try and be very polite, because with the way that I look with all my like tattoos and piercings, I know that like with older people I would always be seen as the antagonist if I was to like actually be rude. So I work really hard to like be polite, and I am a polite person, I'm quite patient. And I know that people, you know, it's not always, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I was having a rough week. My mental state was at a low, okay, for personal reasons, and I just looked at her and I was like, well, all your bosses have approved it, so I really don't see what the issue is, and like gave her a very wide smile. So that, I can't lie, that felt kind of satisfying. Anyway, rant over. For more background of how this woman is with me and our relationship as co-workers, I think it was even the second time she met me, she was talking to me, and I was making small talk. Like, I could tell she had a different accent, so I was like, oh, you know, where are you from? And she was like, I'm from Canada, because like it obviously didn't sound like she was from around here. And I was like, that's so cool, I'd love to go to Canada. And like we were talking about something else. I think she was like telling me some work that I needed to do, and so I was listening and being, you know, and I can't remember how or why we got onto it, but she just like randomly said to me, she was like, oh, you're not from around here. And I was like, just telling me that I'm not from around here rather than asking. Okay, that's normal, cool, reasonable, fine, not rude at all, she said sarcastically. And she was like, oh, you're from this city that, I know why she said it. She said it because like it's a rougher area, which, like, you know, I don't care. I really don't give a shit where people are from. Like, I don't care where she's from. I don't think where people are from has any effect on like who they are as a person. You're either a good person or not a good person. Like, it seems very classist of me to like judge people based on where they're from, which is exactly what she was doing. And I know for a fact that she like assumed that because of the way that I look. Like, I'm covered in tattoos, I'm younger, I have piercings, I look very alternative. Like, she just assumed that I don't come from around here because where I live is like quite overwhelmingly middle class. But I do. I wasn't born here, but I moved here. I won't say where because I don't want to out myself and dox myself on the internet, but I moved to where me and my immediate family have been for the past 24 plus like years, when I was like 1, or like not even 1, like when I was a very, very newborn baby. And she told me she moved here all the way from Canada for like less than 5 years ago, which I don't care. But then why do you think, like, even by your unreasonable standards of how you're judging this, it doesn't even, like, I have the upper hand, so, like, what? How does it even make sense? It's just... Anyway, I lied saying that my rant was over, and then I continued ranting about this woman, but, I know that she, you know, I hope she's loved. I hope she has people who care about her. I know that everyone is loved by someone, hopefully, they deserve to be. But our relationship is not great, at least from my perspective. She really does kind of drive me crazy. So please give me patience, guys. Okay, I'm trying. You know, it's really flexing my patience muscle. I'm not gonna lie, team. But, you know, sometimes that's necessary, and it can be a learning and growing process for me. So that's that. Anyway, on a positive note, I'm painting Naruto. I wanted to, like I previously mentioned before, do this kind of like 3-piece bit comic book style mural in the corner to kind of show that the library stocks comics, because my boss Debbie, when she commissioned me to do this painting the library mural thing, she wanted to ask my opinion on kind of how to get people my age group in, because we have a lot of kids come in, we have a lot of adults come in, we have a lot of families, but the kind of gap in the market that we can't seem to tap into is kind of like teens, pre-teens, and like young adults. And so I was looking through like their database whilst I was like learning how to use the very, very finicky library system. If anyone else is a librarian, you will know how complicated it can be. But a lot of it is just trial and error, and like the more you use it, the more you kind of get used to it, which is what I found at least, so that's good. But I noticed that the entire council, the entire county council, because all the books are like in rotation together, so like we're paired with like different libraries in like at the same location as us or near each other. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically we like rotate stock, so we basically have a lot of books in our system even if they're not currently in the library, because a lot of my job is also, whilst I handle like the public and whatever they need, we also do stock rotation, if that makes sense. Hopefully I've explained that good enough. But whilst I was looking through all of our stock, I noticed we have tons of different comic books. We have manga, which is why I'm drawing Naruto. We actually stock Naruto as a comic, as a manga, which was crazy to me, considering how like 10 years ago I remember like when it was really difficult to find anime and manga like anywhere in this country, in the UK, but now like local libraries stock it, which I don't know if they always did, but at least recently they do, which is really cool to me. Oh, and I was painting the blue here, and the blue pissed down the side of the wall because it was too diluted. I panicked quite a lot, but as you can see I managed to clean it up, so a win. I was really worried it would stain, but to be honest I could clean it up with like white acrylic paint because the wall's already white, which is what I've been doing throughout this process to like clean up all the lines. But yeah, you can see the panic on my face. But yeah, it's not even just manga that we stock, although we do have like a lot of different manga titles. We also have things like DC, Marvel comics. We have a lot of like Harley Quinn, Joker, Batman, like that, those kind of stuff, which as a DC girly myself, like Marvel's cool and all that, but I think I've always been more drawn to like the DC storylines and villains specifically, because of course I have. And the art style, I've always loved the art style, and I grew up with like my dad and my brother watching the old like Batman cartoons and comics and live action, so it feels very like nostalgically close to my heart in that way. And my mum's first ever word as a baby was Batman, so there's a very personal through line for DC for me, so I've always kind of been a little bit of a fan for it, so it has a soft spot in my heart. But that's the reason why you won't see it in this video, but in my next video and my last mural painting video, I will be drawing Batman as part of this kind of like 3-piece comic book mural. So I'm very excited for that. I think that's the illustration, because it's a little bit darker, that my colleague that I was moaning about before had a problem with. But I say it's darker, it's just that Batman's like got a scowl on his face or whatever. But I thought that like, you know, young lads of like varying ages would be interested in that, because like, I mean, Batman is brooding, that's the kind of the point, so I don't want to draw like this kind of comic book, you know, bright, lighter than life image of him, because that's not true to his character. And if we want to get young adults or preteens in, you need something a little bit more angsty, shall we say. But it's not offensive, like this is still in the children's area, so I wanted to keep it appropriate, but yeah, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I found it funny that she criticised my creative process, considering that I don't think she knows how to draw. So you stick to your stuff, I'll stick to mine respectfully. Okay, cool. But what was really cool is as of yesterday morning, when I am recording this, I was doing some work with local primary school kids in the library, because one of the other volunteers that I work with, I mean, we have about like 50 plus volunteers, which is crazy, and everyone puts so much effort into the library, and it really shows. It's like a massive passion project for everyone involved, which makes it for the most part a really, really nice place to be, so I'm very, very grateful to that. But one of the other volunteers that I work with is an ex-teacher for younger kids, and I can't speak, sorry, and she noticed that I was doing all this painting in the library, and she said that she would really like to get me involved in doing some like kind of creative crafts for like the younger kids. So that's what I was doing yesterday, and it was really fun, and I'm planning on doing some more. The kids that I was teaching yesterday morning were about 7 to 8 years of age, I would say, and I had some lovely conversations. It was so fun. I was teaching them how to make little brown bag kind of like monsters, so I was cutting out teeth and eyes and like fur and wings for them all. I was helping them draw, helping them colour in. I was talking to a lot of the young lads about their favourite anime and manga, because obviously they introduced me as like the artist, the library's resident artist rather, should I say, and all of them were like, what's she painted, what's she done, and they just pointed to the walls, and all the kids were really amazed, which just really warmed my heart. It was lovely. But yeah, so some of the lads, I was really surprised by a lot of the young lads. They watch more anime and manga than me. Like, a lot of them have watched like mostly all of One Piece, which, like, if you don't know manga and anime, like, One Piece is a big show. It's a very long show. I think the manga's pretty substantial too, I'd assume, but yeah, it's the kind of show that I've been meaning to get into, but I just haven't watched. So they were like, oh, do you know this? And I was like, I'm familiar with it, I've just not had the time to watch it. But I was drawing all sorts of characters for them all, which was really sweet. I was talking to them all about stuff, and now, yeah, it's made me realise how much I love working with kids, and I would like to do more of it in the future, which is looking very hopeful, so that's exciting and fun. But yeah, speaking of working with all these adorable, sweet little children, I have so many cute little stories from this interaction. It was only an hour, and I feel like it just gave me so much, which I'm really grateful for. But when they all came in, there was this one little girl who made a beeline for me, and you know how kind of kids have no awareness of kind of like personal space, like, and it wasn't like a rude thing. It's just really cute because they genuinely haven't like got the self-awareness of it, which I just love. It's so adorable. And as I was like setting up the table for all of us to like do our craft together and talk, she approached me really quietly with her tiny little footsteps and was staring at me, and I was like, oh, hello, and greeted her, and she gave me a little purple origami heart, and she said it was to match my purple hair, which was just so cute. It was so sweet of her. But yeah, and I was talking to another little girl who was telling me about how her family was from India, and sharing all this stuff with me, which was really sweet. And I noticed that she had like these beautiful, I would assume like family heirloom earrings in. They were just like really ornate, definitely like gold and lovely. And I just pointed them out because she said she loved my hair. All the little girls really loved my hair, and they were saying things like, I'm gonna have red hair, I'm gonna have blue hair, I'm gonna have pink hair, I'm gonna have purple hair, which was just so sweet. And I was obviously very encouraging because I remember being exactly like that when I was a kid, just staring at like older girls with bright coloured hair and being like, the minute I can get my hands on some bleach, I'm doing that at that age. And I hope that that's my legacy. And I hope it goes well for him, honestly. But yeah, I pointed out how much I loved her earrings, and she was just so like smiley. And even after the session, like when they were all getting ready to go home, she approached me before she left, and she was like, can I have a hug? And so I gave this little girl a really big hug. Guys, my heart was melting, okay? You don't understand. All these kids were so sweet and genuine. We even had an incident where like because it was quite chaotic. There was about like 20, maybe more, give or take 20 children. And what they did is they split them up into sections. So half of the group got out their library books and returned their books, and then the other half was doing the craft with me just to kind of like crowd control, which did work. But that meant that we had like quite a lot of kids on like this fairly small table doing this craft, so I was just like managing, making sure that all of them had the space that they needed, because I didn't want any kids left out. Because inevitably there were like some shy kids, so I made an effort to talk to them and be like, if you want me to draw anything or do anything, or just kind of encourage them to get stuck in, because obviously, you know, some kids struggle more than others and that's not their fault. But yeah, it was very, very cute. But there was this one incident where this young lad, he wasn't being rude, but I noticed he got like territorial, but a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of adults get territorial. And he was like so stuck into what he was doing. He had all these like really good like big ideas. He was like drawing big blue ears on his like monster. So I didn't want to discourage him because he was obviously doing like really good work. But this one shy little girl kind of asked for a glue stick, and he immediately just said no. And he wasn't being rude, but it obviously came across as rude. And I think he was just like so in the zone and like wasn't very self-aware. And I could tell that the girl looked quite like deflated, and I kind of related to that because I was quite shy as a kid. And so I just like approached him and I was just like, oh, is it okay if I like borrow it? I'll give it back to you. And it just made him aware enough to like give it to me. But that was a really good learning process for me to kind of realise that like you don't really need to raise your voice at kids necessarily unless it escalates to that point, to just make them aware of what they're doing. They just don't have that self-awareness. They're learning. Just give them a minute, you know? They're trying their best. And most of the time, if you make them aware of it, like that kid, he was very amicable. So you can't knock him for that. He tried and he did the right thing in the end, which was good, you know? That's all that matters. There was also this one specific lad who was really into, I think it was Jujutsu Kaisen. It was, because he asked me to draw Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, which Jujutsu Kaisen has been on my watch list for a minute, but it's so popular like One Piece that I know the characters and like I keep up with it. I have friends who watch it. I will watch it. I'm a rewatcher of shows. I hold my hands up. I'm rewatching Detective Conan right now. I'm rewatching Naruto. I'm rewatching my club classic favourites, okay guys? But I will get onto it anyway. So I was drawing Gojo for him like with the blindfold and the cool spiky hair that's very like Kakashi-esque. I mean, we know I love Naruto. I love Kakashi. That man is my fictional husband. Yeah, thank you. And so I was drawing Gojo for him. And I was like, oh, how do you draw Gojo? So he was drawing alongside me, and I noticed he was really good, like better than I was at that age, like by a mile. And you know, he watched like a lot of anime, and he was like, oh, I was like, do you draw a lot? And he was like, yeah, I love it because like, you know, I'm watching anime all the time, so it's just fun to draw the characters alongside them. And I was like, you honestly should try really hard to keep this up. Like, if you keep this up, you will be miles ahead of me and anyone else. Like, he showed a lot of promise, so I hope that works out, because genuinely this kid had a lot of promise. So that was really, really cool to see. Like, genuinely blew me out of the water. He was telling me like all of these animes that he watches on his iPad and stuff, and I was like, he was a cool dude for sure. Yeah, I was very impressed. But it was just so lovely to see like firsthand how truly thoughtful kids can be. Like that little girl who hugged me sorry, I had a little cough. And that little girl who hugged me before, that I mentioned previously, I was talking to her about my murals because she was really interested in like the process and kind of stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I do, you know, little drawings like this that we're doing together in a book that I call my sketchbook. And she was like, oh, do you use it a lot? And I was like, I use it every day. I love it. It's great for getting down like initial ideas, initial elements and compositions and things like that. I was just explaining to her. And then like 5 minutes later, she had folded all these little pieces of paper up and cut them so it opened up into like a mini book, and she was like, it's a sketchbook. And I just, like, to do that in 5 minutes just for me to have, and, like, she gave it, it was just so sweet, like, to hear that information and then immediately do it just as something nice. It I don't know, it just amazed me. It was really, really lovely and really heartwarming, so, yeah, I don't know, gave me a lot of hope. But it's made me realise that, like, working with kids, I found so easy, and I found, like, so much, it was an hour-long session, and it felt like 2 minutes, because there was just so much to do, and to stimulate me, and stimulate the kids, and talk about, you know, with each other, and get to know each other. It was so rewarding. So, yeah, definitely something for me to pursue and figure out my future with. But I've always known that I like kids. I just think that doing something like this, that's, you know, dealing with a lot of kids at once, has made me realise that this is something that I really could look into, so who knows, we shall see. But it's very exciting. But it was so lovely and supportive and wholesome. I am gonna cough again, one sec, sorry guys. People could say that I could edit that out, but I'm lazy, so I'm not going to. Sorry. At least I'm honest. Points for honesty. But the 2 volunteers that I was working with, my co-workers, who is the one that signed me up for this initially, who is so supportive, because, like, she absolutely did not have to do that for me, and the other one who was there, who was also an ex-teacher, I think she was a little bit younger and maybe might have taught more recently, I think she mentioned, but yeah, they, like, after the session and after when I was helping them both clear up after the activity and stuff, they were saying, like, how impressed they were with me and, like, how much, like, potential I have, which was just so nice, and I could tell that they were, like, both really supportive and, like, really excited for me. So yeah, but it's just, this is why the library has been so great for me, because before I signed up, I had a really tough time with confidence and worry about the future, and I have mental health issues, and I struggle with PTSD and anxiety and depression related to that, and it's very personal how I acquired it, so I won't get into that. But before I signed up for the library and, like, did this, I had a year off after graduating from uni and getting my fine art degree, just to kind of have some time to think about my next move, and then obviously settled on doing the library, and I'm so grateful that I did and that it's worked out so well, because I had so much anxiety and worry about my future and what to do, because PTSD has that effect on you. You know, I went through something, again, I won't go into detail, but I went through something that made my safety feel absolutely compromised at the age of being a child. And so to be able to go into the world now as an adult knowing what I know, despite that fear, and have people be so supportive and see I'm getting emotional, Jesus, sorry, and be so aware of, like, the worth that I have enough to, like, stick their heads out for me and to try and support me, has been life-changing for me, and I really don't take that lightly, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm gonna cry anyway, sorry. Bear with. But yeah, speaking incredibly personally now, like, I really do feel like something within me internally has, like, shifted for the better. Like, I feel so much more aware of my own self and my surroundings, and I'm more comfortable with that, and I just feel a lot more positive and stable about my place and where I am and what I'm doing, because not that long ago I had so much doubt, like, it was overwhelming, really, and now, you know, that could not feel further from the truth of how I feel most of the time. And, you know, whilst there are other things at play, the library has been a really big part of that, and it's because everyone's been so supportive and understanding, and, you know, it's just a really nice environment for someone like me to be in, which obviously I was hoping for, but, you know, it's gone above and beyond. And it's given me a lot of faith in kind of my skills and my capability, and it's just been really life-changing for me, and I can't stress that enough. So yeah, and it's nice to be able to do something that helps people in any kind of small, minute way. You know, like people come in to the library, there's a lot of young families that come into the library who have multiple kids, and obviously in a cost of living crisis, it can be really disheartening for people to have to say to their kids, like, oh, you can't have that because of, you know, money issues, which isn't anyone's fault. But in a library where everything's free because it's you know, charity owned, like it's so nice to be able to say to kids, like, oh, grab whatever you want, we'll go. You know, it's just things like that matter, and you know, a lot of libraries are closing down now. And so it's more important than ever that people support your local libraries, please. I know that I sound like a broken record, and obviously it's very biased, but I see what it does for people, I see what it's done for me and my colleagues. It's the heart of a community, and it makes a difference for a lot of people. A lot of people come in and they feel seen, and they have friends, and they have value there, and it's just really important. And it's important that information of every kind of degree is accessible to the public, and that's what libraries are. And there's not that many systems like that in place now, especially in like a capitalist world. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but it's very important. So yeah, please support your libraries. It's paramount. It absolutely is paramount. But yeah, as I said, the library's done so much for me personally, internally, inwardly, but also in a very basic and like a low-key selfish sense. It is very hard to feel bad about yourself when you're doing stuff for people, you know, and good stuff in a minute way for people. And I, you know, with my PTSD, really struggled with self-esteem issues, which, you know, is very common, and to do a little bit of good every day, whether it's, you know, working with kids or seeing families or holding a door open for someone or getting a book out or making small, you know, it just helps me, you know, when I have that little voice in the back of my head saying that, like, I don't deserve anything or, you know, whatever, because I was made to feel so unsafe, and I was made to kind of, you know, pull that into myself and say that was my own fault, when I know logically it wasn't, but it's the only way I could make sense of what happened to me. When I'm doing some good for some people, it's so hard to believe it, you know. I can't believe that I'm a bad person when I get up and I try every day, and I manage to make someone smile in a little way. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm, you know, I'm not being a martyr, but it helps. It really does help. All of my struggles in that sense, and it's made me realise that I would like to, in some way, hopefully continue to do some kind of work like this, because for me and for someone like me, it is really rewarding, and hopefully it's rewarding for other people too. And if you can spread that to people, why on earth would you not want to do that? Is my personal thinking. But anyway, yeah, that's how I feel. Anyway, I'll stop getting all emotional. Ugh, right? Jesus, how did we get onto that, folks? Purely my fault. We are reaching the end of this process for today. I think this is like video... I was gonna guess what number video this is. I have no clue, guys. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think the next piece is gonna be another piece of this mural. It's the section underneath. I'm hoping I don't have to stand on a ladder whilst I do it, because standing on a ladder makes your legs hurt. It really makes my legs hurt. I have to take a lot of breaks, whereas like if I'm standing up, I'll still be standing obviously, but you know, it won't be as strenuous, because anyway, I'll be standing on the floor. And now we get to a great section, some peel porn. I love it. So this is masking tape, and if you paint over it and then let it dry and then peel it away, you get a clean line, as you can see, and it's very satisfying, I do have to say. So let's all enjoy this. You enjoying it? Ooh, look at that. That's a good one. That's a good peel. That's a good peel right there. Solid 10 out of 10 peel, if I do say so myself. Yeah, you can see I was impressed with that one. I had to make sure I got it on camera. Yeah. Anyway. But thank you for staying with me on this chaotic, truly chaotic ride. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys!